So, where we left off last time was we got our 4 little thumbnails for a role-playing character prompt that we sort of made up for ourselves. Going off of this as a reference, it's from a buddy of mine. They have like a monster hunting ranger who is sort of siblings with like a Frankenstein type character, and they are hunting for revenge. So they have some qualities that are not so virtuous themselves because they have a lot in common with the person they are hunting. So yeah, we worked on 4 different options for a hypothetical client, and this is kind of what we started with grayscale. I was laying in a little bit of color here just to like kind of show off a little bit of how that might start, just very roughly. But we were kind of trying to establish more like a tonal hierarchy. Some of these are still pretty like locked into midtones, so we would be pushing the contrast on those if we went for them. But the one I was least happy with so far was probably my starting one, since this is sort of my process is I just kind of jump in. The first one's probably going to be the roughest. So I thought it might be a fun challenge if we hypothetically allow our client to choose the A option. Maybe they really like this one. I'd be like, oh, okay. So what do we do? What am I going to do next is I will focus and isolate on that one and maybe come up with some variations, depending on the time you have, because, you have to take that into account too. So I'm going to just like snag Control A, Control C, everything that's in here, and then for organization's sake, I'm going to take everything here and group it just so I don't have it cluttering up my layers. It's still there if we need it. So then we paste, and then I'm going to fill our screen a little bit. It seems like it doesn't fit totally. Maybe, oh yeah, it's because of our layer mask. We did go off the boundaries, so it's getting everything outside of the layer too. That's fine. I have a pretty loose approach to things, in case it wasn't obvious. I think that's about where we were, but we can work with this. I like this placement. See, I had it like a little higher, but again, I talked about it last time, but like making use of the space down here, it's a little unused. So this, I think, fits a bit better. So I actually think what we kind of want to do is we could just work over this because it's all one layer right now. But also what we could do is start over and give ourselves more room to come up with some new approaches. But we'll keep this. This will be one of the ones we'll work on. We'll kind of touch it up a little bit and see. So my idea, I was kind of thinking ahead of time like what we might do with some variations on this, and I was thinking we could zoom in a little bit. So I'm gonna put the face like closer up. I may even have to zoom out a little bit on this. But this is going to be, the idea for this scene is that the character is sort of investigating like a crime scene. Even if anybody's seen like the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman or whatever, I'm thinking like the beginning scene where he's looking for Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde and that sort of thing. So it's going to be in like a sort of a Victorian church. I don't think we'll be going as quickly as we did last week because we have less to do, but I will try to talk through what is going on here if I notice that I'm doing anything that might be of note in particular. I'm just blocking stuff in, feeling it out. I'm not using a reference right now for the pose, but I was looking at stuff on Pinterest earlier just to kind of like get myself in the headspace. Someone was asking about like warm-ups last week, and I guess I don't really like do like a traditional like warm-up session. And some people might prefer that to do that. So by all means, the reason I don't like have like a separate thing that I'm working on is to try and just like, for me, I can get easily distracted. And so I prefer to kind of warm up by just kind of getting in there, get, so to speak, just like getting the wet block of clay and just getting my hands dirty. But definitely some people prefer like an isolated space to practice. For me, like I said, I can get distracted, so I'm trying to reduce ways that might keep me out of like entering a flow state, essentially. It's just I want to enter that flow state as soon as I can. Hey Amanda, how's it going? But yeah, no, we'll be developing tonal hierarchies a bit more. Anyway, I don't want to focus too much on the character because we've got a few more we want to get into. I'm hoping we can start getting to like rendering on a committed composition during this session. I am doing all right. Just kind of getting my sea legs here. I always have to like get kind of acclimated into the mindset. The more you do it, the faster it'll come, right? Right now the proportions on this it's giving me a little bit of like Hobbit vibes a little bit. We can work on that as we go. Since the figure is kind of approaching like the darker side, I think I might have like a cast light on the arm area as he's like picking up a piece of evidence. And again, I was likening this to like working in 3D with just like a bit of wet clay right now. I don't have like a total clear idea of where this is going. I'm just kind of feeling out the forms, and it might take a little bit. And I don't want to get too hung up on this either, because we do have another composition, so I will move into that at some point. But I was thinking of, let me think here. I was thinking of having maybe some elements from another composition integrated into this. I kind of want to do like an interesting tilt on the face a little bit, I think. So like this will be kind of our nose and like eyes kind of in that area. That's working a little more. Our shoulder's going to be back here. And we do have like kind of a half cape situation. Keep the shadows dark under the head. But yeah, feel free to cut in with questions about, what I'm doing at any point. I will try to answer as much as I can. I'm going to have some light coming in from, some pretty dramatic light coming in from above. That'll probably be the part that gets worked out the most. They have like big shaggy hair. One thing I need to remember as we render the character is that they also have a scar on their face. Little Tony Montana situation. Is that the Scarface character's name? Montana? It's interesting to see how everyone can have a different way to start a composition. For sure. I probably should be more all over the place. I just kind of like getting a little... Actually, I'm getting a little hung up and distracted in one corner before I fill out the rest of what I'm doing here. But I was thinking of sort of, like I said, including some stuff from previous compositions in this, getting a little abstract with it, and having sort of a little peek into the mind of our character here. Maybe who they're hunting. Still kind of going with like a weird castle shape, like up on a hill, very, very Castlevania-y, very dramatic, sort of evocative of that. Although, people usually think of the windmill too, so when they think of Frankenstein. So if we want that to read a little more, we might even just like combine a few ideas, of like having like a castle with a windmill maybe. Just try to get like as many little clues for the viewer as we can. But yeah, I think our first composition does have potential to work with, so it's not like a total lost cause. But we'll be developing this as we go. We can have some vertical kind of movement in the background here, maybe with some perspective stuff going on. Do some bright spots for like window patterns, because he's going to be in like kind of a chapel or like a Victorian church or something. I do have some references that I can reference in the background when it comes to kind of doing a bit more, but the focus on this is going to be the character itself, so I don't want to like get too crazy with the background, although for the sake of it we might end up doing that anyway. But notice I don't always have the opacity on. It'll definitely help getting some like, I don't know, one thing starting out that I definitely had trouble with was making sure I had like a variety of contrast. I actually don't like having this leg up here. I don't think that works totally great, so I might just take that down a peg. If I need to decide what I'm doing with the arm on this side, I can have it like rest, or kind of out of view. Could be like gripping something, maybe a sword hilt. Do you kind of want to have like the shoulders a bit broad over here? Could even use the cape if we want to add some just like dramatic forms going on, we could use the cape as like a tool to sort of isolate our ideas here, kind of abstractly fill this space. I think I want to have it like blend into the background a little more here, just so that it's not, we don't have so much contrast in edges or down by the edge. Maybe it's a dumb question, but it is always better to have less contrast in the background to mimic the depth of field. Yeah, I would say that that rule would hold for most cases. I mean, especially just in general, it's sort of harkening to ideas with like atmospheric perspective, right? Like as things get further away, your contrast is going to be less and less as things go back in space. And just in general, you would want the most contrast to be on the, you know, the objects or subjects that you want viewers to focus on, which is probably going to be in the foreground. So yeah, you don't want to go so crazy with the contrast, although, yeah, back here, like, we've got some stuff going there with the lights and the darks, but our darks aren't going as dark as here. So it's actually going to be pretty easy to make sure that we have focus back over here, but also this isn't the entire composition, so this is going to help draw the eyes kind of around the space a bit better. Like, we do want them to glance over here once in a while, but yeah, I guess in this case we kind of have, we're telling a story with more than just the figure. Let's see if I can define this just a little bit better. He'll be holding something, I suppose. We don't really have like a clear like object or catalyst in mind, so we're gonna have to kind of get creative when it comes to that part. This side of the face is actually good to have in light because it's going to help us highlight the scar that's here. It's present. So yeah, we've got actually some good elements here. Again, though, my hair is a little big. It tends to be the case. That actually would probably help shrink the character down a bit. But we want to clean it, or unclean up this edge a bit. See, working digitally, I haven't really had the need to like drill that out of myself, unfortunately. With the hair size, I always mess it up just a little bit, but being aware of it means I can always fix it, and then it doesn't end up costing that much time if you're aware of it. But eventually it'd be nice to get that out of my system. But yeah, I think I said last time too that like a big part of what I want to sort of impart onto people is like the ability to identify problems as they arise. Because yeah, it's a push and pull, I would say, right? Like, maybe some people do it perfect every time, but for the rest of us normal mortals, there's gonna be mistakes. But the best thing we can do is become familiar with them and either stop doing them altogether, or at least if we can't or don't have the time, then we can identify them quickly so that we can fix them or restart or whatever we need to do. But yeah, okay, so this is fine. I think we will group these two layers with shift-click, Control-E, and to group things, it's Control-G. Didn't mention that earlier. Oh, why is this? Oh, it's because both these are active. Yeah, so we've got two options here, but let's say we wanted to kind of like get back into this one a little bit. I'm gonna make a new layer on top, and the first thing I really want to fix is this arm. I think we can do a similar thing to what we did last time and kind of have light cast on the hand. In fact, I would probably eventually want to look for reference on hands just to get the fingers in the right place, but I'm going for like an abstract form here just to kind of get something across to myself. Fingers are kind of going to be pointing into the foreground. That's not terrible. My mind keeps going to like maybe like a locket or something. It's the idea of finding a clue, so it could be a little vague, I suppose. To help with that contrast, we do have like a half cape so we can darken this would-be negative space, and then pull this negative space in a bit more. So the figure here is very dark, so we'll want to brighten a bit more of it. Excuse me. We can have some like direct light coming in from like the foreground a bit more. Kind of that direction. I am using like a little like remote widget thing. I don't know how many people use that instead of like a keyboard for their shortcuts. I definitely prefer it and sort of recommend it. Again, to me, it kind of gets back to the idea of just like achieving that flow state. The less things that I have to think about, the more things I can just like simplify to muscle memory. You know, if I'm using a keyboard, which I actually had to, my remote thing got a little wonky. I realized it was a splitter was bad, and I had it running through a splitter, so the commands weren't working very well. So I had to go back to keyboard, which was interesting. I haven't done that in a long time. And it reminded me a bit of why I'm using a remote, is because sometimes I'll hit the wrong key, and when it does, it disrupts and goes like, ah, wait, what just happened? Oh, okay. And then I have to pick up the pieces kind of where I was. I prefer that not happen. Like a toolbox? I'm not familiar with the term, but that probably is like, look it up real quick. Yeah, it looks about right. It's got definitely a lot more buttons than what I've got. I've got like a little XP pen thing. It's not that crazy. It's just like 5 number keys and like a scroll wheel. That's pretty much all I use. But you can get as fancy and as technical as you need to. I'm sure... Turn my mic back. I'm sure having access to more shortcuts can be more helpful, but I've really just got like the essentials, like Shift, Control, T, so I can switch between eraser and brush. Basically just like what I need to like paint, right? That's kind of what I'm focused on. So now I've kind of shrunk the head a bit, and now the leg is like looking a little large to me. We could probably even go like brighter on the hands here a little bit. Yeah, like this isn't bad here. I also just have this on like another layer, just in case I decide I want to backtrack. It kind of gives me that peace of mind, right? Sometimes I feel like there's an advantage to like taking the risk, you know, just going all out, like, hey, I want to force myself to commit to something. There's value in that too, but I think I prefer just not to like have too much worrying on my mind, right? Or just because it gives me a bit more freedom to just go, okay, now we can just kind of try whatever. And I think for me that especially helps. It's kind of why I was drawn to the medium in general. Is just, I don't know. People always joke about the like, oh, you know, you have a backspace button. It's like, yeah, that's part of it. But I think for me, the other half of digital art is just like not being stingy with materials. I was always worried about like wasting paint specifically, right? And so I would like paint very thin layers. Control Z is a blessing and a curse. I try not to actually use it that often. I mean, the style sort of leans into not using it so often. Maybe that's coming across as I do this. But one lesson I try to take to heart from foundations class was our foundations teacher actually like encouraged us to not use our erasers. Like, do not erase. Like, really, like, got on our cases if they caught us using our eraser. It's like, no, just, like, roll with it, right? Roll with the punches. And that sort of lends into painting as well, right? It's just, you can always cover up a mistake or, like, kind of adapt it into what you're doing. I guess in a lot of ways you can sort of tie that into my approach here in general. Like, it's a... What's the word I'm looking for? It's just like it's a influential mantra for me. It's like, don't be afraid of your mistakes, but like have the confidence to like make it make sense. I don't know. You don't make a mistake, you make happy accents, right? No, see, it's a known phenomenon for sure. Like that's the thing too, is like, let's say I wanted to like move this arm out or something, I would just like take it and like move it over. Well, that can't do that because we're on a different layer. So let's deselect and blah, blah, blah. Or like if I wanted to move the head or something, I'd just take this whole thing, tilt it, move it, and then just manually fill in the space. In fact, that's actually a fun idea I had for like homework for people that are feeling a bit more like ambitious or something, is maybe set up like a bit of character art and just like hack it up into pieces. And the homework would be filling in the blanks. Filling it in manually with paint. Middle school teacher used to say the mistake is the mother of learning. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think I mentioned it last stream too, just like it's definitely like a common phrase or idea that like you learn more from making mistakes than when you succeed. So I'm always happy with like clients that like give like a little bit of pushback or like give me a bit more direction. Like it's nice to have the freedom of people that, you know, like everything you make, and it's like that's really cool and I really appreciate it, but I'm gonna get complacent or like I don't know. It's just like, well, if I don't have anything to work on, then I might get kind of lazy at a certain point. It's good to have it's good to push yourself if other people don't. The hair's looking a little helmety here, so we'll have to like fix that eventually. Okay, so we've got like 2 here. Let's think. Let's try to come up with like a third option. Could do something more dramatic where they're like on the ground or something. Maybe they're like really having a bad time with their hunt. Or maybe we can have the character looking up, like, why God? Do like a different angle. Up tilts on the face are always a little tricky, but try not to be afraid of giving ourselves challenging material to work with. It's just gonna take maybe a couple more tries or so to get right. Maybe we can have sword drawn or something. I believe they had a rapier. See, now I'm wondering. I usually end up putting my center line somewhere on the edge of the blank spot here, I'm realizing. So we could go like for an interesting angle that way. Not sure I like that though. I think I still prefer having sort of a dramatic face angle here. Just implying it for my own brain to pick up on. Speaking the language of my brain. But yeah, I know not everybody's style is going to sort of have an easy time with this approach, like being very painterly and like fast and loose. Some people definitely benefit more from structure in that way. This wouldn't resonate with everybody, but to my brain, like the comparison, like I was really thinking about the warm-up question because I know it's a common thing, and I realized that like I just haven't really like, I don't know, done like the conventional methods there, and you know what I might say to somebody who really prefers that. I guess I would just like, for me I compare it to like you know, you're practicing a sport or something. In my sphere of in my wheelhouse, I compare it to like fighting games, right? How you can just go online and immediately start jumping into matches, or you can sit in the practice room and try out your moves against like a dummy. I mean, you can compare it to like martial arts too, right? Like for something maybe more you can wrap your head around more if you're not familiar with like fighting games or anything. It's just like the idea of like doing sparring matches or going against the dummy, right? I think orthodox thinking or like conventional wisdom would say like, yeah, you want the practice room, but I feel like some people benefit more from just like jumping in right away, right? I think so. I think I'm in that camp. So that's what I would be sort of encouraging people to give a try. Because I definitely know, like, starting out, like, I didn't know consciously. I'm trying all sorts of stuff, you know, starting out. And I imagine a lot of people are too, of just like, well, how do I work? Right? And I think a big part of what I would encourage is, like, figuring out, like, what works for you. Are you the type of person that needs a practice dummy to practice your cool judo moves on, or do you learn better in the moment? And I think it's different, you know. There's two sides of the creative mind in that way, for sure. I definitely think I learn more from doing myself, like doing things on my own. But it definitely comes from, like, you have to like push yourself, right? You have to be trying new stuff and taking note of what works and not. So right now I've kind of just got this other hand. You want to be that one that goes head in, though I need to go head in and simpler things first, not gonna lie. Yeah, I suppose that's a fair takeaway. It is good to be ambitious though, and like you know, try things that maybe you're intimidated by. Learning what my drawing process is, I think I function similar to you. It's nice to see something that looks familiar but not exactly the same. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, no, I definitely think I get inspired by the same thing. When I find artists online that I feel like, well, this is not too far off from like my approach, or like I feel like I'm seeing an artist that values things that I value. I tend to pay more attention because I want to see how they're handling situations that I don't know if I have as much experience in, or definitely like starting out, that was more the case, right? For sure. That's actually like a huge inspiration for like what I was going into school with, the idea of like, I think I really started hitting my stride when I went in with the idea of focusing on like concept art, right? But I think looking at concept art, I realized more about like why that was. I definitely was inspired by like how you can inform form, so to speak. Like you can do a lot with very simple strokes. And I think a big part of what kind of knocks people out when they're trying to kind of find their way is getting too hung up on like on their approach, or like, you know, whether they're doing things right or not. What am I doing wrong, right? I think I saw that question in the Discord about this. And, you know, I don't know if... God, I gotta make sure to grab my thought here, because I think I'm onto something. cooking a little bit. But just, like, don't worry too much about, like, the marks you're making, right? Like, you know, is this the right way? Is this the right this or whatever? Like, you have to find, like, that confidence of, like, you're locking yourself out or, like, second-guessing a lot. But, I think you'll discover more if you just try it, you know? Just try whatever's on your mind. Go in with the thought that you might not kill it, but like, who cares? I don't know. maybe somebody needs to hear that. I don't know. But like, you want to give it a shot, see how you do. But I think what some people said, like going off of that particular case too, is just like, definitely like it helps to have sort of some vague idea of like what you're trying to accomplish too. And I think that's definitely a hurdle early on, is just like knowing like what is your goal. And yeah, it's hard to have like a very clear answer. I can definitely relate. Been rolling with do I like the shapes? Does it look cool? Yeah. And I think the more that you look at art that you like, you know, that inspires you, I think that helped me a lot, of just like, you're familiarizing your brain with like certain forms. Like, take note of the things you like, right? Like, what kind of art speaks to you? Like, if you look and you find a lot of stuff, like for me, I realize that there's a lot of common ground with the art that I'm drawn to. Like, a lot of times, like, I'm very haphazard. Oops, got some pink there. I'm very haphazard, and I'm going through and just like grabbing stuff that I like, you know, just to look at later and be like, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. And I go and I realize, oh, these are all by the same artist. Like, I might even be grabbing them from like different sources. I'm always excited when that happens, because it means there's like, oh, there's like a cohesive taste going on here, right? There's like something I didn't realize. But it tells me too, like, ooh, this is an artist that I want to pay attention to. They're doing something that I like. And my goal is like, well, maybe I can emulate some of this in my work too, right? Where like, I guess a good way to put it is you find an artist that does a lot of things, like we said, similar to yourself. And it's exciting because you can see their approach and go, ooh, it looks good when they do this. I wonder if it looks good when I try that, and see if this is something you want to kind of adopt. But it's also going to help you just like kind of pick up new skills. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like this piece. I like where this composition's going a bit. I'm gonna loosen up and like blur my eyes a little more. This isn't bad, but it is a little bit different from what we were doing as far as like our concept goes. So we might not go with this one. I thought we might stick with this one as a challenge more, just to kind of see if we can fix it, but I actually do think I might want to stick with those. I just see like a more variety going on here. Like, we'll have to do some more darkening and stuff, but I like what's going on in this one. Still more to figure out, but like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to put into words. Like, everything, like there's stuff that's working in here, but it's very like neat and tidy. I feel like the splotchiness here gives us more freedom to kind of push and pull. So I think we're gonna go with this piece and try to bring this forward. At work with 3D camera, when our leads do something dramatic, often means Low or up angle shot with more perspective. Sure. I'm not able to relate as much as a mostly like 2D enjoyer, but yeah, no, perspective will add a lot of dynamicism, right? 3D camera, low or high angle, yeah, for sure. You get those Dutch angles going, right? But I think one thing that I use a lot right now is like that might even tie into that. Sorry, no, I'm speaking vaguely here. Let me find my thoughts and words here. Is I think what helps guide me is thinking about the story I'm trying to tell, right? I think early on, like kind of tying this back into the idea of just like finding out like what am I doing? What am I doing this right or wrong or whatever? And it's good to have a goal in mind. I think maybe something that could be helpful early on for somebody to hear is like trying to figure out like what kind of story you're trying to tell. Like I do a lot of fan art right now for conventions and stuff, and that honestly is like what I find like to be very easy in comparison to other stuff I could be working on. And it's why I have a hard time like committing to original concepts for myself. Is because I tend to like second guess or like change my mind a lot on like what a character is or what they're about or whether there's enough going on, whether it's compelling enough, whether I can deliver, whatever. With fan art, I have like a clean idea of what the character is already. And so I find just a lot of enjoyment in just depicting that as effectively as possible. It's like, I don't know, it's like finishing a puzzle or something, right? I think my hair's still a little big. I might just like make the face bigger, honestly. Tilt it down a little more. It needs work for sure. Let's look at our reference again. So it is more like a little side swoopy. There's a bit more forehead visible here. I think that'll help. But yeah, so like think on your concept. It's sort of a double-edged sword too, because like I used to, I guess when I thought less about like what I was making, like I knew how to like make something look dramatic or evocative, but I didn't always have like a clear idea of like what's going on in the piece, right? Like I didn't have like a clear story in my head, and I think that's the cutoff of like when I started working less on stuff for myself, just like my own like super original ideas or whatever. Oh, he looks very sad here. I think was when I started just like raising my standards on like what kind of stories I was trying to tell. Like right now, like the most personal work I do is like developing like project ideas and stuff. It's not that I don't do anything. It's just like it's more like developmental. It's like with the aim of like reaching a destination at some point, something that's kind of like far off. And so it's not always something that's easy to show, or like I don't think it's gonna be like super impressive in a lot of cases, because it's almost like a sketchbook, right? Just kind of showing like my thoughts. It's a way to get my thoughts down on paper. Might be wrong, but I think it's less difficult to find a mood to an existing character. When you craft from the start, it's like having to create a whole backstory. Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. That's definitely something I'm feeling. But yeah, like I think the best fan art like is stuff that really like demonstrates like an understanding of the character you're depicting too, and like tells a lot of their story. I think, at least for me, that like that's kind of my favorite stuff I find. Or it's also just like my goal going into it, right? Like we have very little to go off of as far as this character goes, but we know some things, and this artwork is making use of those things to try and tell a story. We'll probably want to look more at drapery references to get like a better idea. I think my angles and stuff are getting a little cartoonish over there. So yeah, like I'm going in once in a while to like kind of zoom in and focus, but I'm also backing up and kind of glancing at everything as a whole and seeing what I like and don't like. We could even get more abstract with this too, and kind of have like the interior of the church like become the exterior of the church, as far as like working with like silhouettes. Or maybe they could be outside, maybe outside in a graveyard. See, now we're thinking like we're getting a lot of ideas that sort of are cohesive. because Frankenstein is sort of a grave robber, right? We can still stay kind of abstract with that, but it gives us some more ideas on how to add more information. Yeah, we're approaching our time limit, but at least we have, I think, the makings of a stronger piece here. I'm actually gonna like reduce the contrast on the hair a bit more. I'm not quite ready to push it that far. I want to kind of like build everything up a little evenly at times. However, like sometimes if I'm struggling a bit with like rendering, specifically when it comes to like detailing, right now we're still kind of just building up our lighting and our figure. I suppose we're rendering, but it's very gradual. See, we're like jumping around quite a bit. But eventually it might help to sit in one place just to establish sort of a standard for your rendering, and just be like, this is how good I want the rest of the piece to look. I want it to look as good as this face, you know? And I think we definitely are drawn to focusing on like rendering faces. It's inevitable. It's very important. People will focus a lot on a character's face. So it is something that you're going to want to get good at. And we're just sort of like drawn to it as humans. Yeah, it's still cool. Being a good storyteller can be really hard for some people. So everything that helped them express the depth of a character is amazing. Sure. Yeah, no. And like this kind of, I guess, lends to what I was saying last time too, of how like you can pull a lot of inspiration from like various disciplines, right? Like it doesn't even have to be like visual arts. But like refining your tastes in storytelling, or like just thinking more about like the stuff you enjoy and why, I think will give you more insight into what kind of art you want to make, or what you want to value in your art, right? All right, we gotta get something going on with this hand here. Figure out a bit more. Hey, Dr. Sensible, how is it going? I hope you are having a wonderful morning, noon, or night wherever you're at today. It is a nice sunny day where I'm at, although it's starting to chill out with autumn weather coming in. Painting a townhouse for work, that's cool. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Getting to do something physical. See, working from home has its benefits for sure, but you also have to, I don't know. For me, it can be a little hard sometimes to like stay active. I don't know if I want him like clenching so hard. I may want to adjust. Okay, well, we want him to be like grasping some. If we have the pose of the hand too soft, then it's kind of like he's looking at his hand like, what have I done? You know? It tells a different story. I realized I actually kind of accidentally gave him like a little scar here without even thinking. Taking a break to catch some art. 4 different jobs. Hey, get that bread. It's gonna be very important in the coming days to have some money saved, so work as much as you can. Although, you know, take breaks and make sure you're getting what you can out of your free time too. I definitely am a free time enjoyer. One of the reasons I work at home. Yeah, thanks for coming by, Suze. Yeah, we're wrapping up in about 8 minutes here, so no big deal. I appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's got like questions for me, but I'd be happy to answer anything, even if it's not totally related to what we're doing here, because now I'm just kind of like feeling stuff out and rendering a bit more. I'm still just kind of like, even with the hair, see, I'm getting like a little blocky. Remote work can be very isolating. Forms, thank you. So for hair, I probably want the opacity to taper with my pressure, or not the opacity, the brush to taper with my pressure a bit more. But it sort of depends. I have like a variety, like it depends on the day, like what I'm feeling as far as like hair techniques go. I feel like I get a different result a little bit every time. Never find the right brushes to do value studies. I don't know how much I would put on the brush for that. I mean, like, you'll get a different effect probably, but you could probably get it done one way or another, right? Like, I know some people just like are like, yep, round brush, and you know, that's fine. I can do work too. But I suppose it would be easier depending on what you use, for sure. Like, you might be working a little harder with one brush versus another brush, but eventually you can get it. Probably do it with a lasso fill tool. That is also viable. I've seen some, yeah, there was an artist that had a demo or something on Proco a while back that I remembered. That was like the first time I was seeing somebody talk about using lasso fill for, you know, their workflow. It's really cool. It's a great way to get like high contrasts and like nice edges and stuff. I tried it a little bit as like a practice to like see how I felt about it. It's cool for sure. I don't know if it's something I would adopt as like my personal like taste as like how I want to approach projects, but you know, if you find it fun, like it's definitely viable. I got nothing against it. So yeah, I'm using kind of a lighter touch here, but we're getting a lot of motion. We may have to walk back some of this based on when we decide to reference more for our drapery. But if it looks good, then I am perfectly happy using it the way it ends up too, just because it will be something that comes more from ourselves. So one thing I'm worried about with like using references is like leaning on it too hard. Like I think my goal as an artist for like how I'm trying to improve is like trying to feel more confident to like do a lot, like fill in a lot of detail work on like my own, but it's unrealistic to expect to be able to do all that, right? I think I'm squeamish about the whole thing. Oh, for the next step of colors, are you adaptive gradient map or painting over until you just feel it's right? I don't think I've done much with like gradient mapping. Actually, yeah, we can kind of jump into that again a little bit in these last few minutes, because that will be the next step after we're happy with the rendering. But these days, I actually spend a lot of my time in grayscale just to like get as much of the detail work done as possible, until I'm feeling right. But as far as colors, I'm feeling a lot of like blues, so we can kind of wash that in here. I'll do maybe hard light and use like a light stroke here and just kind of lay in like a base color. It doesn't have to be like super even either, like we'll be kind of like feeling it out. Actually, yeah, hard light is maybe soft light, and we'll go harder. It's going in for like light tones. I'm not sure if I was feeling that. Yeah, I think soft light is coming out a little better. Curious how you transfer color too. Yeah, we'll be doing more color in the coming sessions, so we'll stay tuned for that. But yeah, I don't always do like layer settings. Like eventually we'll work our way to a normal like top layer. But we can do a fair amount with this. Don't have like a total clear idea. Like it may be a situation where we would want to like look up some reference too, but like I'll start kind of mild with my color use, kind of build it up. And we could do like stained glass in the back, but I'm worried that it might take away a little bit. I don't know. That'll be something for later in the piece. We can figure it out. And the character themselves is kind of more greeny, right? That might be like greenish yellow with some blue highlights. So that might be a good starting place to like influence more of like what we do. Glazing learned some suffering because he's dropped his sandwich in the rain. Yeah, for sure. Usually 26 by 20 with 300 resolution. That's pretty large. So how do I disable a brush's aliasing? Aliasing, I imagine that might be in the brush settings. I haven't messed around with my brushes in a long time, so the term aliasing is not immediately coming to mind on what effect you're dealing with. I think I would have to look and see more directly. But yeah, I tend to use like blues and purples for shadow a bit more, and I don't know, we want to make sure our character is coming in here. We are a bit at time, but I'll go slightly over just to kind of give you like a look. So we have we started with blue, which is going to be like in our shadows, right? So for when we're laying in color, like the actual color of the object, we want to make sure that we don't just like wash over the whole thing, I guess. Like this is the part that I haven't like vocalized a ton, so it's good to actually walk through this. It's going to help me understand what I'm doing a bit more. But you kind of want to stick to like the areas where you've left patches of light and see how that blue is like nicely informing like the shadows. And then from there on, it's kind of back to like a push and pull type thing. We have a different material over here, so we can leave that something else as something darker, and so on and so forth. But you kind of get the idea. Head back to work. Well, yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll be closing out here. Just now, now you guys got me on color. Now I'm interested in continuing this. But this is a good start for next time, I think. I think we will have to cut this off. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys see the sculpture within? Is this making sense? Still very loose, right? And as we go, like, we don't want to like over tighten. As far as like my tastes go, like I definitely want to keep like some of that painterly look. But I feel like we've got like a nice like dramatic scene here to work with. There's a lot of emotion. The man who has dropped his sandwich. It is a tale as old as time. Absolutely. And yeah, so like on this layer too, like sorry, I'm getting back into it. Like we can only push and pull so much, so like there's a point where we would have to cut this off and then go to a normal layer, and then from there we can kind of like push the saturation a bit, and that's pretty much the idea, right? Like you can more directly go in and influence stuff, like develop your gradients and core shadows and blend stuff, I don't know, all that good stuff. But yeah, not bad for a session. Yeah, let me go ahead, hit me with questions. Miss the lettuce's hand. I dropped my ice cream. Is there less thought or more thought than what I'm assuming goes into this? I am a creature of instinct, I will say, so probably less. It might have more to do with experience, if that answers your question. I'm kind of like reading the tea leaves a bit. Like, I think I explained it last time, is like, the reason I'm using this brush is that it's very loose, right? Like, I can kind of like make a lot of like very loose patterns and marks here. And look, would you look at that? I made a little face, you know? Like, we see little faces and things. So, you know, like, I would say there's probably less thought going in, if I had to guess. I'm not in your head, though. So when I try and do this later, try not to fixate on the reference and the accuracies, just try for the sake of trying. I suppose, I would say, like, references for this is helpful at the start to just kind of like, but more of like setting a standard for like what you're aiming for, right? As far as rendering. Nice watercolor feeling here. Dude, I get that all the time from people. It's crazy. It's funny too, cause like my, yeah, no, I hope that's helpful. But feel free to reference it as much as you feel like you need to, as far as reference goes. I think it'll come with time and experience of just like relying on it less and kind of feeling more confident in your ability to like recognize patterns and shapes, but leaving yourself room to sort of like read forms in your mark making. As I definitely want to emphasize like staying loose, so that you can kind of let the piece sort of take form. And yeah, but yeah, watercolor. I get a lot of people at cons and stuff. They're like, is this watercolor? I'm not offended by it at all. Watercolor stuff is really cool, and sometimes I am directly inspired by it, but it's just, I always find it funny because I actually have the most experience with oils when it comes to traditional paints. I have like barely touched watercolor as a traditional medium. It's very funny. No, don't apologize. I'm just amused. I wear the badge proudly. And hell, like, I would probably kill it as a watercolor artist, but just you know, as far as like my own squeamish side, like I'm very afraid of like committing to material use. No, thank you, Dustin, and thanks for allowing me to kind of sit and talk more about this traditional at first. Yeah, no, it was a big goal of mine, definitely, to kind of keep that traditional feel. And I think it's valuable because, like, I get feedback from people too sometimes of just like digital art can kind of sometimes hit a lot of the same notes as far as like, I think people are tempted to use a lot of like neon colors in that area, in that setting and environment, and just like you can take advantage of it to get like a lot of like crisp edges and like, I don't know, and that's all great and stuff too. Nothing against it, honestly, but I think it's interesting to try and, well, I guess people take note that this is a different approach, and so it's part of why I think that this is actually helpful to kind of demo for people, or like give people another avenue to explore a different effect to try and shoot for with their digital art. Really cool and interesting. Thank you so much. No, thank you. I'm glad that this is valuable. So yeah, no, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll let you guys go here. Before I go, I will put up on screen, just because I was kind of bad about it last time, is I've got like some socials and stuff, and just a reminder that I've got mentorship slots open. I'm on Blue Sky, Instagram. I've got stuff on Etsy. That's more for like selling, but you guys are probably more interested in like my art station. If you do go to my art station, it's going to be a lot of I haven't updated it as much in recent years, so it's going to be you're going to see like older stuff in there, but that's all cool. Yeah, no, we will be back. I'm going to shoot for next Thursday. I'll have Dustin let me know if that works for him. I want to convene a little bit more to make sure that works for everybody, but I'm shooting for Thursday, noon, same time. So yeah, all right. No, thanks everybody for coming in here and being cool. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, noon, or night, and I will see you next time. We'll pick this one back up. All right, see you later.